Sorry, guys. You guys hear me?
Alex, you are live. Good to see you, man. How are you?
What's up? What's up? What's up, guys? Sorry, a little bit of technical difficulties today because can't use my laptop.
Sick.
What?
Jay is sick. She has a fever. Alex is traveling. He's on his laptop. So technical difficulties, guys, but we are happy to be here. And as I mentioned, if you don't mind, just go ahead and use that chat feature down below. Let us know what your name is, what your Instagram handle is, and what market you're from, where you're investing from. You all know Alex. Alex is the guy right there on the screen next to me. And Alex, why don't you let people know where you're at right now, man?
What's up? What's up, everybody? So I'm here in Honolulu, the island of Oahu. I'm glad to be back in Hawaii. Had a fantastic time in Los Angeles for about 2 weeks with the team, with Will, with Jay, everybody. There's too many people to name, but you know how much I appreciate you guys. And I'm so happy for all the connections that we made while I was in Los Angeles. I plan to be back March 23rd, March 24th next month. And so really excited to be here in Hawaii. I'm hanging out with some other investors, just getting back into the Hawaii island vibe, but really just happy to get back on the webinar, you guys, and share some value and connect with you guys.
But if you actually have a hurdle, something that you want Alex to spend one-on-one time with you on and break down that hurdle and get you through that rock, get you to that next step, that's what we're going to do today. And so if you are one of those people, go ahead and let us know. Go ahead and use the chat and let me know. And we're going to go ahead and be happy to do that. So in the meantime, I'm going to start us off with a quick poll. We're going to ask you guys what kind of investors you are. Are you investing in wholesales? Are you doing fix and flips? Are you doing buy and holds? BRRRRs, creative finance? What's your strategy? We want to know, and go ahead and use the poll feature that we're putting out right now to let us know. And then Alex, we're going to go ahead and dive in and get going with some questions. All right?
Yeah, for sure. I did want to say one more thing, Will, though, is that even though the investor webinar series, you guys, is named Ask Alex, it's really not about me. It's really about the collaboration. You know, this is about the community, the tribe we're building here. You know, sometimes it's hard to get people in your network to buy into, you know, believing in and being able to transform your life through real estate investing. So really that's what we're building here, guys. So it's really not about me. It's about the communication between you guys, between the networking, the growth that we're all trying to experience. And so I just wanted to just kind of remind you guys that, and that really it's about the option to choose our destiny by using real estate investment deals as that vehicle. All right, you guys, so just a reminder of that.
Love it, man. That's legit. And again, guys, it's not about Alex. It's not about you know, asking Alex. It's more of a name, and it's more of a community that we're trying to build than anything. So you couldn't have said it better, Alex. It's a community, and that's why we want you guys to put in the chat where you're from and where you're investing, because if you see somebody else that's from your area or that's doing the same investing strategy as you, you know, those are people that you can grow with, that you can network with. I know I'll use a personal reference. I'm looking to house hack, and I see a couple of my guys here in the chat right now, Rory and George, that we have one-off conversations separate from Alex and I's flipping business about house hacks. And so, you know, that's something we're able to grow our community there as well. And so please let us know in the chat where you're from, what your handle is on Instagram, where we can find you, and what kind of investment strategy you're in right now in the poll. And Alex, let's go ahead and dive in. And you know, the first question that somebody's wondering is how do you find a fourplex that you can live in and fix up? So, you know, that's kind of what I think I'm talking about right there, right? The house hack.
Yeah, of course. That's a fantastic question. Some people still don't know about the house hacking, and it's funny how the video I did on house hacking on my Instagram IGTV was one of the most saved, one of the most shared, because it's such a powerful strategy, especially if it's your first investment. So what I would say is, number one, you need to get your mindset right, because it's all about, like, all the social programming is buy a house, buy an entry-level condo, buy something that you can afford. And then it's not really about this, hey, buy a triplex, buy a fourplex. And so that's a conversation that I think is worth having, because on those triplexes and fourplexes, if you have the right mindset, you go out there and search, you have to understand that you're able to pay sometimes more than a cash buyer investor is able to pay. So you do have an advantage there. So there's that. And then also, I would recommend that you work with an agent that has some familiarity, like some experience with 2 to 4 units. They are a little bit different than single family. So if you're working with an agent that never has helped a buyer acquire a triplex, acquire a fourplex, that's probably not the right agent you want to work with. And so that's another thing. And then if you're purchasing like in Southern California or in a landlord or sorry, tenant friendly state such as, California, for us, I think it's also really important to understand that there's rental laws. So there's only so much you can bump the rental property income up from the other units that you're not occupying as a house hack. So one of the things I tell people is avoid those ones where, they're paying significantly under market rent. They have some of the protected classes, which are, elderly, disabled, a lot of minor children, because what ends up happening is you may be buying that fourplex, but if all 3 of the other 4 units that you're not living in are paying significantly low rent, it's pretty hard to bring those kind of back up to where it's a worthwhile investment for you. So there is kind of a sweet spot there where you can work with, the right properties under the right circumstances. So I would say that. And then also, once you found that real estate agent that is helping you with that is investor friendly, that understands that type of product type, then you also need to have them set up these auto alerts with these triplexes, fourplexes. In Southern California, what I have found that if the $200,000 or below is about where you want to be per unit per door. Now, obviously the lower the better. 150,000 would be better. If you can get a fourplex for $600,000 in LA County, you're winning. So that's kind of a rule of thumb, kind of what I found, that you need to be between that 150 to 200,000 per door, and then for it to be kind of close to a deal or around a deal. Now you can pay more, but it needs to be a much better area with much higher rents as well. So all that considered, and again, that's why you want to work with somebody that knows what they're doing and how to analyze these properties, because they are different to analyze than analyzing just a single family house that you're going to buy to house hack. Because you could do the house hacking strategy as well with single family, but I'm just a bigger believer that the 2 to 4 units, the fourplexes, will go ahead and give you a greater bang for your buck and more upside potential. So do that. So get the right agent, get the auto alert so you see all the ones that are hitting the market quickly, and then just understand the occupancy and the rental rates and how much it can go up. So that way you can just make a more informed offer and then fall forward and buy a property and get yourself your first house hack.
That is a great example there, Alex. And again, I know me personally, I'm looking to do a house hack. So that just, gives me more and more motivation and more information on how to get it done. So just want to give a special shout out to the people right now using the chat feature. I see Dante, he's doing big house investing here in LA. We have Janelle from Ventura, Ulysses from Santa Cruz. Tyler's a general contractor doing deals in Denver. Daniel's out in Virginia Beach, and I know he's doing deals in Hawaii as well. Camel High is a wholesaler, fix and flipper, and buy and hold investor in Hawaii as well. Serena looking for a 5 to 10 unit apartment. Guys, this is how we know who is in the community. It's not just about Alex, but now we know that Serena is in the community looking for a 5 to 20 unit building. And if you're somebody that can help out with that, Serena might be the person you want to get in touch with. And if you're an investor from New York City that's also investing out of state, Allison might be the person you want to get in touch with, because she's looking to buy her first investment deal out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So again, thank you guys for sharing in the chat who you are and where you're from and what you're doing. It just helps us grow the community even more. So speaking of which, Alex, I know you're growing your community pretty big here. How are you managing flipping, your flipping business from being out of state?
Zoom. Just doing videos, remotely and being able to see properties. No, for real though. I think it just comes down to having the right people on your team, which include the contractor, the project manager, and just having the right system in place. Because if you don't have the right systems in place, then you're not going to be able to do that remotely. But I would really like to say that the project management for me is not an area that I love. So I love to delegate it. I've worked out a couple of situations where I do a joint venture as well, where I'm just going 50-50 on the deal. My partner's managing the rehab; he's better at that, and he's maybe bringing most of the money, and then I'm the one finding the deal. and I'm the one that, also has expertise in helping resell that property top dollar, checking all the comps and doing all that. So I've done that to also help. I call it like division of labor, because so many people want all of the profit, but they don't understand that to get that profit, you need a team. And so you need to be able to share that profit as well, appropriately, based on, the deals, right? And how to, make sure it's structured for a win-win. So that's kind of, I would say. And then finally, just when you have knowledge of experience in a certain area of town or the county or the country, then you know that area and the appetite and what's happening. And so I've been in hundreds of houses across Southern California, and I know hundreds of neighborhoods. So I'm confident investing when I'm not physically there. When I went to go look at that property we just locked up and we're about to close in Southgate, you guys did a fantastic job, Will and Jay, in locking that deal up. I went in there just hoping that there wouldn't be any issues, any surprises, and there really wasn't. So kudos to you guys. You guys are doing a fantastic job running things there in LA. But we've done a lot of training, Will. We've worked together for hours and hours and days and gone to masterminds and doing all this stuff together, because training is important. Everybody needs to be confident on your team for you guys to execute these transactions.
Speaking of which, Alex, at this point in your career, what are you doing with most of your time? Like, what are the most important things that can't be outsourced that you still have to kind of do in your business?
Yeah, I love that question. That is such a great question. So I think one big thing is I do a lot more training with my team, through Zoom calls, through phone calls, for you guys, you guys hearing me on three-way, talking to agents, just a bunch of more training than I previously had done in the past. I wasn't training. I was in the trenches. I was in the houses. I was on the phone calls, just me and the agent, me and the seller. So a lot more training. I evaluate the deals that we're really looking and we're getting close to. I don't want to look at a deal if it's just a brand new listing now, because that's probably not the best use of my time now. So I'm evaluating deals once there's already something to discuss. I'm running the meetings along with you, Will, and other meetings that I'm hosting with other people. The Maui team that I'm working on, and then also the Southern California team that we constantly are growing. And then I'm working on the big relationships, right? Which is the mentors, the people that are mentoring me that help me mentor all you more, right? The Brandon Turners and the Indars and all those people that are high level, investors that I'm learning from. And so I got to continue to nurture those relationships. Yeah, on social media it looks all fun and dandy, but I'm working, because we're discussing high level stuff, and I'm constantly that fly on the wall with them. So doing that, working on the big, and then bringing the capital. It takes a lot of capital to flip multiple properties in an expensive market. So I got to make sure that I constantly either have capital or access to capital, or I'm raising more capital. And then finally, just setting the company vision. Like, this is what the vision that I'm constantly evolving and developing. And so I got to work on that. I got to spend time in isolation and I also got to spend time thinking about the next deal and the next big thing that we have to work on as a team. And then it's not just me telling you guys what to do. I'm sharing the vision, and we're constantly evolving that vision together as well. So that's what I mainly spend my time on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all surfing out there in Hawaii, right, Alex? There is work to be done. So we appreciate you spending your time with us here on the webinar, and all the mentoring that you are able to pass down to us. Do you buy from wholesalers?
Yeah, all the time. I love working with wholesalers. I work with a lot of newer wholesalers too, because I feel like the wholesalers that are kind of just getting started, they're hitting the ground, they're pounding the doors, and making the calls. I love to reward those guys with my time, my resources, any advice I have for them, because I was once, early on in this real estate game, and so I really like to work with them. And then, so if you guys are, needing any assistance in that area, let us know. We're happy to, share resources. As you see, we do every Wednesday this webinar, but also we have side conversations, and we definitely like to continue to network and expand the community within Southern California and here in Hawaii. So yeah, just reach out if you guys need any assistance. If you're a newer wholesaler, love to help you guys out. And we're still buying deals. I love paying big assignment fees. If you guys put in the work, you guys deserve the fee. Let's go.
That's one of the cool things working with Alex. Again, he's looking for deals. And so if you have a deal, it doesn't matter where the deal comes from. If the price is right, that means you're making some money on it too. And, I think the fact that he's willing to help people get to that point is pretty special as well. So jumping into the next question, Alex, if you could go back to when you first started your career, what would you have liked to have learned a little bit sooner?
I think when I found to be super successful, but I wish I would have known sooner, was the ability to structure joint venture partnerships. I feel like those are not talked about a lot. It's when, for example, you go out there and find a great deal, and then you don't have the money, but maybe you don't want to wholesale the deal because it's an area that you would like to learn, how to flip or something like that, right? And so you structure where you bring in the money, you get an equity stake in the deal, and then your partner brings in the money, or some type of hybrid like that, where, as I mentioned earlier, you have a division of labor, you're going to learn, you're both going to earn. So I'm a big fan of that structure because I still do it to this day. Not as often as when I was transitioning from working for my mentors to like doing my own thing, because I would run out of capital and I'd bring in capital partners. But that's not as big of an issue. So, but I just think that would have been really helpful. But I will say this: that comes with the caveat that you need to find great deals for you to be able to share some of that equity and then learn some of that and to be able to provide that opportunity to structure deals like that. But also you want to make sure that you structure the paperwork right and the expectations, because I did lose on a couple of deals where I kind of got, so to speak, muscled out of deals because I didn't have my paperwork in order. And so I felt a little bit taken advantage of. So I would want to make sure that you guys get your paperwork in order. So if you do structure those deals, that you're protected as well. So I think that, and then the house hacking strategy. I wish I would have bought a triplex or fourplex right away. Because when I was W-2 and I had a good credit score, good W-2 income, I wish I would have found out about the house hacking strategy and would have got a fourplex in a really nice area of Southern California as my first deal. I think I would go back and do that. Not a duplex, and I'd go as large as I could and as nice as area as I could afford, because I just think that would have been a much better start than where I started at. And it just provide so much upside potential. I love that strategy.
It's funny you say that, because I've heard that from other investors too, that if they could go back, they would maybe go for a bigger multifamily building, because you're going to end up with roofs, you're going to end up with kitchens. Like, why not just do all of them at the same time? And that way you can knock off 4 at once, or you can knock off 3 at once. And like you said, why not go big the first time? So while we're at that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and launch another poll. If you don't mind, just go ahead and responding in this poll. What level investor are you? Are you a newbie, first time investor? Have you taken down a couple of deals, maybe done more than a couple of deals? Are you taking down 10 or more deals? Let us know where you're at in the poll right now. That way we can get a better idea of who's here in the chat. Again, guys, if you do want to use that question and answer field down there below as well, use that. We're going to answer a couple of questions live from the group today, from the community. I see a couple of people in here. Just want to shout out Janelle connecting with Serena, and Ulysses connecting with Rory on there, you guys. Again, that's the kind of stuff that we just love to see. People growing the community. Janelle reaching out and saying that you can help Serena hit her goal of hitting a 5 to 20 unit building. That is awesome. That's what we're looking for, is connecting people and hitting people's dreams and hitting people's goals. So absolutely love seeing that in the chat. Alex, want to dive into some questions on mentoring. What's your advice and outlook on mentoring?
Great question. So I think one big thing that I constantly look for is somebody that I want to mentor under, someone I want to be like, someone that I want to emulate, someone that I want to have something similar to them as far as their lifestyle, right? So I think that's number one. Figure out what type of investment you're trying to do, what type of investing you're trying to do, and then who's that role model for you? Who are those couple people that encompass that? And that way you're trying to find the person that's already doing something that you're doing, right? And then I think you need to figure out like what type of value you could bring to that mentor, whatever that may be. Because I find a lot of people reach out to me asking to be mentored, but then they don't have any clear way to help me out anyway. So it's like, okay, you're making me have to do the work to find out how you can help my business, rather than you doing the work to figure out how you can help my business. And then I have a reason to want to mentor you. So I think that's also something I would recommend. And then also on the flip side of things, I think you need to understand, you guys, that nobody's perfect. No matter who you're looking up to, they don't have it all figured out. And they also still make mistakes. They're still human. And I remember working for my first mentor, and yeah, as God bless him, I love him, but he wasn't really that generous. He wasn't really that generous with compensation, and he was the one making all the money. And I always remember that. Like, hey, when I do my own thing, I'm not going to be greedy like that. I'm not going to just want the whole pie to myself, because it's a pretty big pie when you're doing things right. And so I remember that. And then the other mentors that I worked for, I remember it was 3 mentors, and again, God bless them, I love them. But they just were, it was hard to get them all on the same page because it was 3 of them, only one company. And so they would constantly bicker within each other and not be able to get on the same page and not really be aligned. And then that would affect all the team. So I remember seeing that and so just understand that when you're working under people, they're not gonna be perfect. Take the good and the bad, just learn from it. It's good to learn from both when it comes to mentors. And remember to think for yourself. If I had just stayed under my mentors, then I would still be working for them. I made them enough money. I left on good terms. Like, that's all I needed to do. My conscience is clean because I put in the work. I made them money. I made them more wealthy. And then in turn, now I can do it for myself. But I didn't try to take shortcuts, right? I worked for them for the proper amount of time for me to learn the business, but also make the money. And then it was a win-win. So that's what I like to say about mentorship. Let's go.
Hey man, I couldn't have said it better myself. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and chime in on the mentorship as well thing. The way I chose to get into real estate is I went the mentorship route, and I said, hey, I want to find somebody that aligns with what I'm trying to do. And that's how I came across Alex is he's somebody that was in my personal network already, but because I saw what he was doing and because I saw the action that he was taking, I said, hey, this is somebody that I want to take massive action. And all I see him doing is every day doing a post about taking action. If I can only do a piece of that action, I should be able to get a piece of that pie. And working with Alex, that's the first thing that we kind of set out is, hey, what are your roles and what are your goals? And I said, I want to grow the pie. And, him mentioning his earlier mentorships, that was something that kind of set me off with Alex is we wanted to grow the pie together. And that just means that there's more slices of pie for everyone. It doesn't necessarily mean that Alex is going to be eating more pie. It means, hey, Alex already knows how much pie he likes to eat. And if he can make that pie a little bit easier and make some more on the side, why doesn't everybody else get to eat some pie as well? And so what I want to do is I want to share the results that we just had on this last poll, just so you guys can see here. And I see 11 people who have taken down 1 deal, 5 that have taken down 2 or more, and 3 that have taken down 5 to 10. So I want to ask you guys the same question that we asked Alex, and I want you to share that with the community in the chat. I want to ask you guys, if you could go back to your start of your career, what is something that you would have wanted these 21 people that are in this room today who have not taken down their first deal, what would you have wanted them to know? And that way we can pass that knowledge back and again, continue with the community. So go ahead and use that chat feature below. Make sure you chat to all panelists and all attendees. And I want to hear from those of you that were in that category beyond the beginner, the advanced, the intermediates. I want to hear from you guys. What's the one thing that you would want to pass back to somebody else who's just getting started in their real estate journey? So would love to see that in there. Alex, diving in, next question. What was the hardest part of getting your first flip?
Getting rejected day in and day out. Getting body slammed on the phone is not an easy task, you guys. When people are telling you no and cussing at you and being rude for hours on end, it's not easy. So I think the negative emotions that you get in this business because of dealing with people in distress, dealing with people that don't want to sell, dealing with arrogant agents, dealing with other arrogant investors. So these are difficult things to deal with, and that was for me the hard part. Was just no every single day. But I always believed that I could make it work, and it took about 90 days to get my first deal. But I always believed like, hey, I just got to go through this mud to find the goal. And so I just kept on. But I think that's the hard part, which is experiencing those negative emotions, the fears, the doubts, and then just finding a way to get past that and still take action every day. That was the hardest part, really, finding my first step.
So Alex, we had an anonymous attendee ask a question in the Q&A, and they were asking that they believe you used to work at a call center before. And how did that experience help you to where you are today? Were you ever getting rejected at the call center?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, it's almost like, if you're a single guy and if you want to meet a girl, you got to get rejected, right? You got to ask girls for phone numbers and do all that. It's the same thing. If you don't do that, then you're not going to ever get a girl. So you got to be. It's part of the process. It's going through that rejection, but it does help you when you get those reps up. But I'll tell you, even when I was on the live call, cold calling, with you guys like 2-3 weeks ago, I was still nervous, but I'm just better at dealing with it. So you just get better and better and better, but not if you're not doing it consistently.
Man, that's great stuff there, Alex. One more question here. Did you ever feel like giving up on yourself?
Oh man, a bunch of times where I still remember a couple of instances like where I was sitting, what I was thinking like, and just how I was thinking like, maybe this is not gonna work. Even after I had done 4, 5, 6 deals with my first mentor, I was only getting paid $2,500 per deal and like $3,000 a month. So I was only making like $5,000 a month while he's making $100,000. So I mean, there was plenty of times where I'm like, at this pace, I'm never gonna make it. Like, how am I ever gonna make significant money? But I knew that, hey, this is part of the process. And if I continue, I'm going to know more. I'm going to be able to eventually do this on my own. I'm just going to have to save money. But there were several times where I just wanted to quit and say, maybe I'll go do something else and go work in a different industry where I can make more money faster because, I'm great at sales. So I'm thinking, hey, I can quit and go do something else. But I stuck through it and thank God that I did.
Awesome, man. I know, sometimes you can give in when you see doubt, just staring you in the face, failure staring you at the face. I'm sure at that call center, you probably had a lot of feelings of giving up. That can lead to some of the biggest successes though. So I know you've been pretty successful. Let's take it back to one of your craziest times on your way to success. Tell us about one of the craziest situations you've had during a deal.
So I want to tell you guys real quickly about this cockroach story. So I kind of already killed it by saying the cockroach, but one time we got this lead and it was a foreclosure lead. And the lady said on the phone, I'm really ashamed. I don't want to have anybody inside my house. And I've heard that before in different ways from different sellers before. And that usually means that it's a pretty good deal. Because if they don't want to have anybody inside the house, and they probably don't want to sell on the traditional market, putting on MLS, having people walk to their house, right? So go to the house, ends up with the lady completely flaked out on the first meeting. So I had to go back like 2 days later. As soon as she opens the door, I walk in and there is literally cockroaches everywhere. And I mean, everywhere you look, I mean, on the floor, on the couch, and she was sleeping on the couch with thousands of cockroaches. I mean, this lady was an alcoholic. She was in foreclosure. She had a lot of equity in the property. Foreclosure date was like the next week. So I ended up just like, and I went with one of my mentees at the time, and he went to sit down. And every time I looked over at him, he had this look like, when are we going to get out of here? When are we going to get out of here? But for me, it was actually, I don't want to say exciting, but like, I'm like, this is where we make our money, guys. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where shit happens. And so I kept my composure. I talked to the lady. We negotiated. I got her to sign the contract. And literally, as I'm signing the contract with her, I'm looking down at, and there's like cockroaches crawling up my slacks, up my pants, like 3 or 4. And I just had to keep my composure. And then we got the contract and got out of there. It ended up turning into like a $90,000 flip that I did a joint venture with. But it was that situation that just reminds me of like, this is what we go through as investors. We solve problems, but we go through some real sticky stuff.
Alex, that's incredible stuff there. Crazy story. Guys, I didn't tell Alex we were going to do this, but I wanted to see if we could get Alex over the 10K bump. Alex is creeping up to 10,000 followers on Instagram. Would love it if everybody could take a picture today, sometime during the meetup, during the webinar. Just take a picture, post it on Instagram, tag Alex on there. Alex Camacho TV on Instagram. Would love to see him get up to 10,000 followers. Would think that would just be absolutely great. Delilah, great question. Always has some great questions in here. Alex, how do you keep focused after failures?
Just remind yourself where your goals are, because at the end of the day, you're going to fail on the path there, but you still need to have your vision strong, and you still need to understand like, hey, this is what I'm going for, and then understand, is this a place where you need to kind of make adjustments, or is this something that, hey, it's just temporary, roadblock? Like, what is it exactly? So I think having an accurate view of where you're at is really important after failures, because we have a tendency to get too down. And the pendulum swings from super positive to super negative real quick. So you need to have an accurate view, like, hey, this is just a temporary, delay or whatnot, and then just once you have that accuracy, it helps you to move forward because, you know, hey, it's not the end of the world. I can still, you know, accomplish my goals. I just have a little bit of a setback here.
Great stuff, Alex. What I want to do is I just want to share a couple of tips from some of the other mentors here in the group. We had some other people who have taken down some deals, and I just wanted to share some of the stuff that they were kind of sharing along here. Damien with a great one. Get as many credit lines as you can. I know credit is huge. You know, you can use debt to your advantage. So make sure you do that. Daniel Kong, legendary one right here. Educate yourself as much as possible, both books and podcasts. Alex, how many podcasts have you listened to?
At least 300-400.
At least, right? So, you know, I know those are obviously amazing. Janelle, don't be impatient. She took a down deal that wasn't great. The right deal will come. And again, I don't think that could be said any better. Alex and I, so many times we get numbers and we're just like, nope, it isn't the deal. It isn't the deal. We're sticking to our numbers and we don't dive in unless it's right.
Let me jump in there, Will. And then people want the home run, but they're not willing to do the base hits to eventually hit that home run. So the reason we get home runs is because we're okay with the base hits, but you need to know how to execute those base hits as well, because it's just one of those things. But you need to get started, and eventually you'll get that home run. But you can't go out only for the home run.
Love it. Bo with a big one over here as well. Make sure you get a scope of work with your contractor. Make sure that everything's on time, scheduled, and ability to perform. That's huge. Damien with another good one. Take action, fail quickly, and fail forward. And Alex, you were just saying that. You know, I mean, if you don't take action on those base hits, you're not going to know how to take down the home run when it comes. Michael Lazaro with another great one. Don't buy in a war zone. Drive by at night. Drive by on a weekday, a weekend. You know, make sure that you know what this property looks like at all times of day. If you're buying near a school, make sure you go in the morning at 7 a.m. and see what that looks like when you're going to have to drive out of there in the morning on your way out. So again, Kevin with a great one. Read lots of books, podcasts. I think everybody in here. Camo High with another great one. Being discouraged by people around you and people in your market, maybe even people in your family and in your circle. Make sure you push through it. Don't give up. You know, again, this is great. He would have looked for a mentor earlier on so that it could help him be a little bit more consistent. So great ones in there, guys. Again, it's not just Alex who's providing value here. There are other people in this group, lots of them, that are taking down deals and that are probably actively looking for their next deals. So make sure you get in touch. Make sure you grow your network. That's the one thing Alex mentioned that he still does most, is he is always growing his network and always nurturing that. So guys, we're going to go and bring in somebody here today. I'm going to promote him in right now. Rory's going to join us. And we're going to talk with Rory a little bit about some deals that Rory's been kind of working on. And Rory's been getting pretty close to some. So just wanted to kind of grill him on where he's at and where he's going.
Sorry about that, guys. I was on mute there. Yeah, what's up, Alex, Will? Hello, everybody. I feel like the last couple of months have just sort of been a whirlwind. And it's quite honestly, a lot of it started when I first heard Alex on the Bigger Pockets podcast, I think in October or something. I was driving up to Central California. I heard his interview. And ever since then, I've been kind of taking crazy action. I've got a duplex out in Columbus, Ohio. And now I've been really focusing on Southern California. And Will, Alex, Jay, and the entire team have been super, super helpful with questions and guidance. And just recently, I've been analyzing a deal, which I found on MLS for a potential flip. And all the numbers look good. Everything looks great, but just sort of echoing a lot of things that Alex was saying, that, you know, capital is king. It's imperative you have everything in order. And I was to the point where I looked like I could pull everything off, but what I didn't take into account was the reserves in cash you would need after acquisition, after the rehab is covered, after holding costs. I had all that covered. I forgot about the cash reserves that the hard money lenders are going to want to see. So Alex and Will put me in touch with some of their folks, both private money and hard money, and been talking to them. And there's real potential to do it that way, maybe with some private money, which is fantastic. But through all of that, you know, when I first got, I'll call it the rejection from the first hard money lender, you get down for a second, but you think, wait, there's still a deal here. how can I make something out of this? And so I was looking at it, and as Will said, we've been talking about doing house hack. George is here too. The three of us were talking about, we want to get our first house hack here in LA. And this happens to be a duplex. It's not a tri or quad, but I mean, the numbers are just so great. If we can seal it up at this particular number, we put in the offer last night. We're waiting to hear back, and seller's very motivated. But I mean, if it all works out well, I mean, it's going to be a house hack, and it's going to end up basically being a burr with conventional financing. And pretty excited about it. Of course, they've got to say yes. There'll probably be some more negotiation back and forth. But even if that doesn't work out, I've got one lined up right behind it. And the reason I'm finding these is exactly what you guys have been talking about all this time. And it's about deal analysis and just practicing all the time. I mean, I'm looking at 5-10 deals a day. I can tell you, since January 1st, I've probably looked at every multi-unit property in not all of LA County, but a lot of LA County, under 1.25 million, because it goes up in quarter millions once you go over $1 million. And exactly what they were saying. I mean, you figure out the steps as to how you can throw out all the bad ones, because that's like 90% you're just going to throw out right away. And the biggest thing, especially here in LA, like they've been talking about, is just with the vacancies. You got to have at least one, especially now in the time of COVID and all that stuff. And anything that's got more than one vacancy, that's just potential gold if you can get the right number.
And you found that, right?
I've found a few of them so far.
So I mean, that's how you know, is when you're looking after deal, you're going to find something, right?
Exactly. And I'll say, if you don't have MLS access, Redfin in particular is a huge tool for that, because Redfin will actually scrape the occupancy and vacancies on units, and it'll show the details down lower in the page. Zillow won't show that, but Redfin does.
So Rory, I have some specific questions. I know Alex will probably have some as well. Tell us again. So, looking at these deals, like, what is it that you're looking for in a multifamily home? Like, what would give you the idea that something is a screaming deal versus something not being a screaming deal?
For sure. So I'm looking at, again, assuming that there's a vacancy that we can get into right away. And then secondarily, and Alex, you said it exactly earlier, if there's, other units are occupied, that's okay. But if the tenants have been there for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and it's well below under market rent, throw that one out too, because you'll never get it near market rent in the future. So it's got to be something reasonable like that. And then what I look at is, are there value add possibilities? And is it reasonable to, put money in and then realize the equity on the other side? Of course, the right deal number. But there's, just through your own research and looking out at different tools and stuff. I mean, Alex, you've shared your flip spreadsheets before, and there's a lot of other tools out there. I found a great house hack calculator from someone I've been connecting with, and he just does great work. He's got fantastic projections, and it really helps cut out all the noise. But it's really just going through these numbers over and over again. And
let me ask you a question, Rory, real quick. I don't want to interrupt, but how many deals do you think that you analyzed before you felt like, hey, I really feel like I know what I'm looking at now?
Shoot, 100, 150 at least. I mean, yeah, I can get through 200.
If we ask that question to all the newbies that just answered that poll, how many of you guys have analyzed these 100 properties? I wonder what that poll would be at, right? Because we get stuck in this analysis paralysis, but we're not analyzing enough deals to actually go out there and put in enough offers to actually get a potential deal. So that's my point I'm trying to make, that you've now analyzed hundreds of properties, and I'm sure you've made an offer on dozens of properties, right?
Yeah, well, I can't say it's dozens, but I've definitely been making the offers. And the other thing that you realize when you do all this deal analysis, I've been so focused on multifamily and on a house hack, is that, single family is a totally different beast. And then, 5+ commercial is another beast. And even condos themselves are another beast. And so you really got to figure out what niche you're getting at, and then, work your analysis from there.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering for you here, Rory, is, when you're using the calculator, right, and you're kind of dialing in your number, tell me more about like the negotiation, because a lot of people just get so scared of making an offer. And I know you've been in communication with the offer, you've made offers, you've been speaking to the agents. Like, tell me how that's been going for you.
Well, the one I'm currently looking at, I mean, the offer we put in, is 200K under list, and it's for two reasons. Two reasons. One, after doing the CMA and the study of all the comps, and I am fortunate, my girlfriend is an agent, so I have MLS access, so I can pull all the latest comp information. But after looking at the comps, they were wildly overpriced. There's literally a comp across the street that sold 2 months ago that went for like 60 grand less. And they're just so I adjusted to what I thought is fair market value. And then I adjusted for all the rehab that has to be done to be able to get this thing up to fair market rents. And that's what we presented. And, they don't have a lot of activity. The sellers seem really motivated, and, we don't want to insult them either, but I figured it's a fair starting point. And I know what my number is that I'd like to hit, and so going that low, I know how much I can come up and feel satisfied.
Love that part right there. Again, knowing that going into the negotiation, just throwing an offer in at 200,000 below asking, what's the worst that could happen, right?
They say no.
They don't respond. They say no. But what if they do respond and say, hey, could you come up a little bit? Exactly. And hey, I actually could come up a little bit because I know that's still under where I would, actually kind of buy this property at. And so, just kind of kicking the tires right there. That's what Alex is talking about. That's getting out of that analysis paralysis and actually submitting that offer and seeing what happens.
Right. And then other things, we've thought about for negotiation tactics, and I've heard you guys touch on stuff like this before, is that, they've been there for like 20 years. It's a big extended family. We walk the property, it needs work, and there's just stuff all over the place. So a couple of things that we can do is, okay, we'll come up a bit on price. We'll also, we know moving out is going to be a big pain. Just take what you want to take, whatever you want to leave. Don't worry about it. Just leave it there. We'll take it out of there. And, we'll cover 3 or 4K of your closing costs, just to make that easier for you. But just so long as I can get the price that I need.
Now, I know you've also had the opportunity to connect with somebody in our group, somebody who's here today, and get some more experience. And again, I think this is something that's really important, guys. Rory is actually connected with Camel High, and Camel High and Tristan spoke on our webinar a couple of weeks back. And Rory was able to reach out to them and say, hey, you guys were speaking about doing something that I want to do. And what you just mentioned there was, hey, how can I be a little bit more creative with my offer? Maybe offer you guys a little bit of help with your moving expenses, offer you a little bit of help with your closing costs. And so again, I just love the fact that A, you're taking the action, B, you're growing your own network, C, you're reaching out to me, you're reaching out to Alex, you're reaching out to other people in the community. And it's really showing by the fact that you're getting closer and closer to taking down this deal, man.
Yeah, well, thank you. And thank you, everybody. Thanks, Camel High. Really appreciate that chat. And I definitely want to tackle a sub 2 in the very near future. And then shout out to George, shout out to Lindsay. Yeah, this is a wonderful community, and it's whatever you want to make of it. I mean, it's all right here at your fingertips. We're all capable of this. We can all make this happen. Exactly what I want to get to next, though, is really thinking seriously about JVs. Capital only goes so far. Really want to be able to partner up with the right people, be prepared for that, and also be able to access, other forms of private capital, so that you don't lose deals, and you don't have to say, can I go find a wholesaler, or can I, and really just sort of make the most of it. But you really got to put in the work and be prepared for when those moments come along.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Rory, for coming on. Appreciate you, telling your story. And I remember speaking to you the first time when you reached out to me because of the Bigger Pockets thing. And I was in, I think I was in LA at the time, and we just chatted and had a great talk, and then continued the conversation. But it was because you continued to take action too. It wasn't because you just asked me some questions and they called me the next week to ask more questions. No, you went out there, did something, and then the next week did something else, and then we started the webinar, and you've been attending regularly. So we really appreciate the support and what you're adding to the community. So hey, kudos to you. Hope you get the deal. If not, I know you're prepared to get the next one anyway. Let's go.
Let's go. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Lindsay is wondering, do you have any advice on finding how to contact a property owner where their information is not available on the county assessor's website?
Yeah, so there's a couple of single skip tracing services. I think one of them is Ben Verified, BEN Verified. Also, you can look at whitepages.com. So there's a couple out there those are the two that kind of jumped to mind: White Pages and also the Ben Verified. And if you go in there, you could actually put in people's information and skip trace individual records for free. Oh, there's Camel High. He's saying fast people search is another one. So
Yep.
you just go on there and search, and a lot of times you'll be able to find a good phone number for them, and then you can reach out to them. And you might get 4 or 5 phone numbers for them, but then only one of them is good. But you do need to call all the numbers to see if any of them are valid.
Great, Alex. And I know Allison Belcher has another great question. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to mention one more thing though, Lindsay, on that. I have found a lot of success with knocking on the neighbors' doors and then getting them, because a lot of times they know what's going on and they have phone numbers for relatives or somebody that's in touch with that person that owns that property. So don't ever discount just going and knocking on one of the neighbors' door and saying, hey, I want to make an offer to the seller. What do you know about this seller? Can you give me their information? And I've gotten deals like that before. I'm not kidding.
Love that tip. That's incredible. You know, again, I know personally, whenever I go out and I see properties, if there's neighbors in the streets, I always ask them what's the scoop, because they'll usually tell you, hey, nobody's been to that property in years. It's been vacant for years. And you know, that's exactly what you want to do. So Allison's asking, why would it be more prudent for a newbie investor to start by investing in flips as opposed to buy and holds? And that's Allison's question. Kind of goes right into Victor's question as well on Alex. Why don't you just BRRRR most of the properties that you do as opposed to fix and flipping? So I guess the real question is, can you kind of just dive into buy and holds, fix and flip, and BRRRR and the difference between them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me just give you my feedback and my way of kind of doing my business model. Now, if you're an individual investor and you want to go and do BRRRRs and you have your W-2 and all that, that's great. I don't knock that strategy at all. I think if anything, you should be doing that. I'm building a flipping company that I want to scale to like where we're flipping 50 houses a year. Everybody doesn't have that goal. I do. And with that, I could be making $500,000 to $1 million a year. And then I could buy all the property that I want, keep all the property that I want. That's my way of doing things. Everybody's going to have their own path, but that's my path. I want to scale a flipping company that we also do wholesaling. And then on top of that, the profits from that, I'm going to invest into multifamily. If you want to go do a BRRRR with every, 2-3 BRRRRs a year, go and do it. That's your business model. That's what you want to roll with. I have a different business model.
Love it. And again, I think that kind of goes in with your mentor part. Make sure you pick that mentor that aligns with your goals. If you're looking to build cash flow wealth, make sure your mentor is also doing that or has, knowledge about how to do that. And if you're looking to build stacks of wealth and get that quick flip money, go for the flips. And if you're looking to not have to do much work, but still make some money, maybe a wholesaling, mentor might be best for you as well there. So I want to bring on another member of the community right now. We're going to bring Collin Adams into the room here. This is Collin with 2 L's, our guy taking some massive action as well. I know Rory is taking some massive action, and Colin's taking some massive action as well. He owns one property from when he was in college, and you just had a pretty big week this week, didn't you, buddy?
Yeah, well, actually, I had one property from high school.
High school, wow, there you go. I forgot it was high school. It wasn't even college.
Yeah,
this was from high school. All right.
Yeah, the one yesterday is from college.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You locked one down yesterday, right?
Yep. So I locked down a single family in Fort Worth, Texas yesterday. My goal is to BRRRR it, which I did not do with my first property that I got because I was too ignorant to know what the BRRRR method was, and I didn't even understand it. Yeah, but I found this off-market property. I got a call Sunday from my real estate agent. He told me, hey, guy in my office has this property. He looked at flipping it for himself. He doesn't want it now. He said, see if you have interest. It's going on the market Monday. So Sunday morning, I hustled over. We went and looked at it early in the morning. I actually almost overslept and didn't show up. And we saw it. It was an estate sale. The lady died in it. And so the family just wanted to get rid of it quick. They wanted $169 for it. And I looked at it and I knew 169 if I BRRRR it. It was hard to run the comps in the area. The yards were all over the place. Like across the street, there was a $500,000 home. And then like next door to it was like a home from the 50s. It's maybe 120. So I didn't have a good idea what the ARV was going to be on it. But I was confident I could probably get 200 to 220 on the ARV. So I came in and offered 160 cash with a private investor or private money. And then I also waived the option period, but I told them you have 12 hours to get back to me. They came back and they said, let's do 164. And I was going to hassle them lower, but I said yes because that was actually what I purchased my first property for. So I was like, you know what, that's a good sign. We'll do 164. I can make this work. So it's
I love the countdown. I've heard that from a couple other people, like, hey, this offer is valid for 12 hours. This is a 24-hour offer. And if you don't accept it, I have to walk away at that point.
Yeah, well, the family that was selling is from Georgia, and I don't think they understand how competitive the Dallas-Fort Worth market is right now. And I knew if this bad boy hit the market, it's going over asking price. And I can't allow that to happen or else I don't have a deal, obviously. So I knew I had to come in aggressive. And that another thing too, it's kind of a side thing that also persuaded me on the deal. I might not be able to pull a perfect burr on it. I probably will be about 10K in when it's done. But it has another lot next door to it that already has a driveway built onto it. So I'm actually going to see if I can replot it next week when I get back to Texas and see if I can sell that land for I got it appraised for $35,000.
These are things that you love to hear because you're looking at upside. That's something that Alex always mentions, right, Alex? The properties that we love to take down are not just the ones that we know will work. You said, I know it'll work at 164, but it has this upside. So I already know there's a vacant lot or a subdivided lot I can take advantage of right next door and make a good chunk of that back. And then realistically, I only need 130 on this home, and I know I can get 2 something for it. So, again, taking that action and knowing how competitive it is, guys. How did you get the lead from the real estate agent? Is this an agent that you've been in contact with before and he knows that you're looking to take something down?
So it's actually funny. My agent was my old baseball coach when I was little. And he just, I told, he knows what I'm here for. We have a great relationship. We go way back. So we can talk, real personal about that stuff and get into detail. And he's not an investor. He doesn't fully understand the investing. So he'd get frustrated when he'd send me deals and be like, no, we're not even going to look at it. The price doesn't work. The area doesn't work. He'd get frustrated, but I think he finally started to catch on to what we were looking at. But the guy in his office that brought this deal, he's a flipper and an investor. So he knew I think John, my agent, kind of told him what, Colin's looking for this. And so his name's Jim. So Jim started looking out for me too. So kind of just building that network all around me of people looking for deals. And I also put a $2,500 bounty out there for anyone to bring me an off-market deal, which got a lot of great leads to me through my email. But this was the one, and I'm very excited about it.
I think it's incredible. I know you jumped on a call with Alex and I and did a mentoring, a coaching session with us and jumped on and got some specific tips and things like that. What did you kind of take from the call and like, what were some of the specific things? I know you said it's high school into college, so obviously you've been slowing down a little bit. You need to pick up the pace, right?
Yeah.
What kind of shifted gears for you and what was it that was maybe able to get you to understand like, hey, I can take down this second property. I'm ready to do this.
Well, like, you guys know I played baseball in college for my first semester in the fall. The biggest thing, I'm just being honest with you guys, the biggest thing I took out of the webinar was I was kind of in a rut. I was discouraged. I was kind of doubting myself. I was like, man, I'm trying to, I'm already cheating my way through college. Like I'm already struggling here. And then to pick up real estate and then all, I'm bouncing between living at college, living at home. And the biggest thing is kind of like baseball. Like I just need my confidence back. We just need to go in there and just groove some balls. We don't really need to think about anything else. Just get that confidence back. Really, talk to Alex, talk to Will, talk to Jay, talk to everyone and realize you can do, I talk to you guys and then you guys give great feedback. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. I can understand this. I can do this. If Will and Alex said I can do it, I can definitely do it because they do it a lot better than I do it. So they would know if I can't do it. It was really the rut that I was in that you guys helped me out the most with. But I will say the off-market webinar last week, that was actually really helpful. And I'm actually a little upset I didn't get a chance to use it more, even though I got like 100 leads driving the next day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
and again, I love this.
The common theme here, you guys, is that Collin understood that he needed a little bit of help. He had access to resources, but he was willing to ask for help, right? And he was willing to go ahead and also, pay for the help. Paid us for the call, and he went on there. And sometimes maybe you need that, and that's what it is. You just need to put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm in this rut. I need some help. And not only that, but he had his feelers out there with multiple, strategies, kind of just constantly looking how he can find his next deal. And he knew his numbers. He knew where he needed to be at. So he was able to negotiate more. And he also was able to recognize that, hey, there's some upside potential on this deal that someone might not see. And it's definitely going to go over market if it's the market. Because I've seen that mistake too with newer investors where they're like, oh, I don't want to pay more than this. And they want to just beat the seller up to beat the seller up only. Not because the deal doesn't work. They're just trying to negotiate. It's like, no, I've lost deals like that, guys, where I know it's a good deal and I still get greedy. I'm trying to get a little bit more and I lose it. So just make sure that you guys are not doing that either. Once you start making offers and getting close on deals, like I like to say, I mean, Will hears it all the time. I'm not going to lose the deal for $5,000. Like, I'm just not. Now, for 10, 15, 20,000, that's something else. But I always want to know, am I within $5,000, $10,000? Because I don't want to lose the deal. Most of my deals should not be, we should not make or break a deal over $5,000, at least in my market. And so, I'm always willing to come up $5,000 if I need to on deals as well, as long as the numbers work and I feel like I'm not going to lose money. So yeah, great job, Collin. You're so young, but I see the focus and like you with the sports background, and then just I think you're really in a groove right now. Now that you're seeing, hey, I could do this, and then I'm confident that once you get this deal, sky's the limit for you, bud. I mean, I see another deal coming down the pipeline for you.
Thank you, Alex. Can I add one more thing about your networking and talking to people?
Of course.
Yeah. I was trying to explain this to like my friends because they just don't understand. I said, man, you're not reinventing the wheel. I'm not doing it. There's nothing I'm saying or trying to teach people that like I discovered. I'm copying what Will taught me. I'm copying what Alex told me, copying what Brandon said on the podcast. Like there's not, don't be, and another thing too, my favorite thing is if I listen to a Bigger Pockets podcast and I like the guy on it, I shoot him a DM on Instagram and I probably have a 75% response rate. Like people that are good at what they do love teaching it, especially if you offer to pay them for their time. Like you will usually get a response and you can start picking the minds of all the great people around you. And it just adds so much value, makes it so much easier to have people in your corner that handle bigger problems than I'm going to handle on this little one single family home and know that I'll be able to come out okay no matter what.
So guys, I just want to make a point of that because again, what Collin said there is like the same thing that Alex and we do in our business is when we need somebody else to just confirm what we're thinking is correct, we pay an inspector to come inspect the property. It's $250. We say, hey, can you come take a second look at eyes on this? And that's what Collin did is he said, hey, I have some actual specific questions, not just, hey, I want to jump on a call with Alex, but he said, hey, I would actually pay $100 to get these 3 or 4 questions answered. And I think Alex is the one that can answer those. I need to know how to find a deal. Alex has found a lot of deals within a short amount of time. If I ask Alex a specific question on how to find a deal and where I'm stuck with, I bet I can find that answer. I bet I can get past that hurdle. So again, can't commend you enough on taking the action that you've been taking. I think Alex said it himself as well, like just seeing how young you are and how motivated you are and how on the road you are, you're going to just keep crushing it, man.
Thank you guys. It means a lot to have you guys in my corner too, to talk to and come for advice. I mean, it really means a lot.
It's coming in from Jordan Calvert. Do you mind letting people know how to get involved in real estate as a college student?
Oh man. So the hardest part about being the college,
because I know you're in college, like this is you.
I'm a
So I mean,
freshman in
like, and help us out here because I mean, Alex and I, we don't have to give age, but we're both in our 30s, so I think you're well more versed to help us out on this, man.
Yeah, the hard part about college, and I should have a better answer for this, is you don't have the W-2. It's very hard to make money. Like even like I looked to get a job for a while, I was like, man, I'm not working for $11 an hour. Like that's not. You got to get really creative. And I think in the areas you lack, you have to make up in other areas. So where I lacked, where most students will lack on money and stuff, get more creative. Learn. So what I did with this deal is I actually didn't want to use, I put zero money down on this deal in Fort Worth because the money I was going to use, I have in other investments I don't want to move right now. But so what I did is I said, hey, came to this private investor, said, hey man, Here's everything I got. Here's my here's my W-2, here's my other investments I got. Here's collateral I have on my other property. Would you be willing to loan me? I'll give you a 5% interest rate instead of 3. I'll bump up your pay. And then my goal is I will refinance this property as soon as we are done, and I will bail you out to the best of my ability. And if the BRRRR comes in low, and I showed the numbers, like it will only come in at most like 15, 20 grand low for you. Like I will pay that out of my collateral to get you out of the deal with your interest. And even if I lose a few bucks, I still got 20% equity in a property for what, 25K? Like in Dallas, that is like phenomenal with how competitive this market is here. So I think you just got to get creative. You got to read books, listen to podcasts. I mean, you're not going to have the money or the experience coming to the table, but if you can come in more creative, more educated in the book sense, I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, Alex says it all the time. He always talks about what you can bring to the table. It's either the deal, the money, or the time, and you hit it right on the head there, man.
I completely agree, you guys, because when I first started, I didn't have all the money either, but then I had skills. I had sales skills, I had negotiation skills, I had real estate experience. So I went to go work for somebody that was doing what I wanted to do because I lacked the capital and I knew it required capital. So I'm like, okay, let me go do that. So there's no excuses. Just analyze what you got, and then just like Collin said, make up with it with other stuff by being creative. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah. And just reach out.
And Ben even agreed. He said, spot on, man. Like I don't think you could have said it any better, Collin. I haven't been in college in years, but if I was in college, I would take that advice and I would run with it, man. That was it.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing too is like, actually I saw some kind of thought. You just gotta, I mean, it's really just creativity. That's really all it is. And you just gotta be willing to work harder. I mean, I feel like in college, I have to work 150% harder than I was an adult to land an investment property here. And banks don't like me. Banks hate looking at my driver's license when they see it's still vertical.
They're like, oh man, he's got the vertical driver's license and we're giving this guy a loan, but you're like, you're giving me a loan. I'm taking this thing down. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just gotta be creative with it. And I wish I had a better answer, but that's all
Well, again, Collin, we thank you for jumping on and sharing with us. I'm sure everybody, in the webinar, everybody in the community appreciates it as well. If you guys want, reach out to Collin. He's a college, high school, and college homeowner, both of those timelines. So I know he's doing stuff that I wasn't doing in high school and definitely wasn't doing in college. Make sure you link up with Collin if you guys have any questions. He's going to be on here to chat for a little bit afterwards as well. We're going to go ahead and bring on one more attendee. Janelle said that she wants to go ahead and jump on here. So let's go ahead and get Janelle on here. Janelle, let us know what are the questions that you have for Alex? What are you kind of stuck in? I know you said in the chat earlier that you're an agent or that you can help out with stuff. Give us some insight. Welcome to the webinar.
Hi, am I flipped or is it okay?
You're flipped.
You're flipped.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now we're good.
Okay, I'll just hold it. It's fine. Hi. Yes, I'm an agent in the LA area, and I just started wholesaling and to flip my own properties because I was tired of giving all the deals to my clients and having them make all the money. So I was like, I want to try this too. I own a lot of units out of state, or a decent amount, 17 in Indianapolis, and so I'm trying to really build that portfolio. So I just wanted to get some capital. And I just started my marketing campaign out here in the Valley in like Chatsworth, Reseda, and then in Westlake and Thousand Oaks. And I got a lead in, and I have an appointment with her next Tuesday. And the ARV, when I looked it up, was at like 1.2 million. And I wasn't expecting to take on a property that big. So I just kind of wanted your advice on whether I should flip it if the numbers work out or wholesale it. I know the buyer pool isn't as high for the 1.2. So I don't know if that'd be a good first deal for me or if I should just wholesale it out. I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's a great question. I think you want to lock it up at a wholesale price regardless, right? Because then you give yourself that option to either do a joint venture with another investor or to wholesale it. You're in the driver's seat, so obviously you want to do that first. But it just depends on how good. I think it depends on how good a deal you can get. If you get a great deal and you can wholesale it for a decent fee, I would probably lean towards that because there's a lot of moving parts, and selling a property at that price the complexity does go up. You got a much more demanding buyer. You have a much savvier agent representing that buyer. You have a much higher rehab cost because of the finishes you need to be at. And you all the much higher money costs, much more included to do the deal. So I wouldn't recommend that as your first deal or your first couple of flips here in Southern California, unless you're kind of working with somebody that has already flipped property or knows that area really well. Now I know the Valley really well because I grew up in the Valley. Is it what part of the Valley is it in?
This one's in Westlake. So I did marketing in Westlake and in the Valley.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Westlake is a different kind of submarket than the
Way
Valley. I
different.
mean, yeah. So okay, that seems like, but that's kind of par for that area though. So I'm just not a fan of flipping it. Like, say for example, the average house is being sold for like 600,000, and you're buying in the fives to try to flip around 7. You know, it's like but if it's like if most houses sell for low 1 millions there in that area, then I would feel a little bit more confident there because it's like, okay, it's par for that area. And I'm not stretching, like this is a normal house in this area. But so I think it depends how good a deal you can get and whether you're not, you have a good buyer's list to be able to wholesale that, or if you just feel you really, really want to learn and potentially do this type of flip in the future, maybe you partner up with somebody.
Okay, so I do have a buyer that I sold a property to that's slightly similar to this one last year. Should I maybe just reach out to him and ask if he wants to partner on it?
Yeah, you have nothing to lose. Of course, say, hey, I got this new deal. Would you be interested in maybe some type of equity arrangement or equity split on doing the deal? And then, I could learn and then, we could work together on this one. I already got you another deal before. I mean, let's try to present it. You have nothing to lose.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
good
again,
job,
I agree with what Alex said, is if you can take that deal down at a low enough price, then that just gives you the most flexibility. So that's what Alex and we always shoot to do is if we get it locked in at a good enough price, then we know we'll take it down. But if we don't necessarily have the funds or the resources to do it, then that's where we can go out and JV with somebody else and say, hey, we already have the deal on the plate. We already know it. The toughest thing is the deals, the contractors, and the money. And so if you already have that deal part figured out, the other two can usually fall in line pretty easily after that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you could sometimes negotiate as well, kind of like a hybrid where you get like $5,000 up front for your work, right? Acquisitions fee or whatever you want to call it. And then you also are gonna have an equity stake in the deal, say, 25 to 40%, or I don't know if you can negotiate 50% on that size deal. I think the more cash they need to use, I think the harder it is to just bring the deal and ask for 50%. I'm not saying you can't, but it is one of the things that you could also do a kind of a structured deal like that, where you get some money up front for your work, keep the marketing going, feed the machine, and then you do an equity split or a part of an equity split, and you're going to be the listing agent, so you can make some commission on the back end as well. So right. I think that there's also that option.
Okay, awesome. A lot of things to think about. Thanks, guys.
Janelle, while we have you on, do you mind giving a quick bit of insight onto your units? I know you said you own some units out of state.
I do.
What was your kind of path and how did you end up kind of doing that? Did you meet an agent out of state? Did you fly out of state? Are you doing turnkeys? What's your kind of method? I'm sure there's some people in the chat asking for your contact information that want to know.
Sure. Yeah. So my husband and I invest in Indianapolis, Indiana. We started buying small multifamily almost 2 years ago. We bought a decent amount our first year. We bought 11 units our first year. I think I wouldn't recommend that. I think we scaled too fast, too quickly, because we weren't able to learn from our mistakes. So we made a lot of the same ones over and over again, which sucked, but it is what it is. It got us in the door, so that's fine. We tried to do the burst strategy, which was pretty difficult there because we were investing in the suburbs of Indianapolis, so in like smaller towns around the city. And in those towns, you really need a specific agent for those towns. So you need to go local for sure. Like a agent in Indianapolis won't know the suburbs of Indiana. And I didn't know that coming from LA, like if you know Reseda, Van Nuys, it's kind of like, it's very similar. So yeah, so that's one thing I recommend. If you invest in the Midwest, find a agent specific to that town that works with investors so they know exactly what you're looking for. We were choosing between Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. My husband's family ended up moving to Indiana, so that kind of just influenced our choice to just invest there since we knew people, even though they knew nothing about real estate. So that's kind of how that got started. And then we just fell in love with the market. It did really well in the last recession. The schools were decent, and it was a great market. The rents were strong, and a lot of people were moving there as well. So population growth was strong too. So yeah, that's kind of how we picked that. And now we're just trying to build capital so that we can buy more. We're looking at an 18 unit right now. So we'll probably sell 6 of our units and it's actually 20, buy the 20 unit with a partner.
Well, that's an incredible story. And again, I think it's great to hear that you guys were able to take so much action in just 2 years. Even if you did maybe scale too quick, just being able to hear that you guys were able to take that much action is incredible. And I think, that's the biggest thing that Alex is always saying is if you don't take action, it's not going to happen. So I see people in the chat already just kind of saying, wow. What I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to put out one last poll. It's just kind of going right along here with what Janelle was speaking about. We're planning on doing a guest speaker next, and we're going to go ahead and jump everybody into the room now so you can all jump in and chat with Alex. But if you don't mind filling out the poll while you do, we'd love to know what kind of guest speaker do you guys want? Do you guys want to have somebody that's doing out-of-state investing? Do you guys want to hear from somebody that's doing remote investing? Do you want to hear from somebody that's doing BRRRRs, buy and holds? Let us know in the chat. And in the meantime, feel free to go ahead and chat it up with Alex.
What's up, guys and gals?
Ali, good to see you, buddy. Dante, good to see you as well, man.
Good to see you guys. Janelle, that was awesome. I would love to connect with you. I chatted in there. I've been looking in Memphis myself, and I've had the chance to chat with Will and Alex a bunch as well. But I'm very interested in hearing your experience from the West Coast out to the Midwest. So yeah, really, really inspiring to hear that and regaining that confidence.
Sure. Yeah. It can be tough. Definitely find people who are willing to work with West Coasters like us, because it was a challenge. Just finding people that were willing to work with somebody from California. They didn't favor me as much, so they would give me the deals that people didn't want that were local. So that was tough, but there are some people that specifically work with out-of-staters. So like I found my agent off Bigger Pockets, so I would look there.
Same. I actually connected with a gentleman who focuses with West Coast investors in Memphis specifically.
Amazing. So basically try to use all of his contacts, especially for the bank, because I had a lot of trouble with lending too, just because they wanted someone who lived there, and I was about ready to move just to fund these deals. But we made it work. We made it happen. So highly recommend that, just doing that. And I would even take a trip out there if you can, just introduce yourself.
Yeah, I was just in Nashville, but didn't have a chance to make it down to Memphis. But that's all in the works.
And you heard it right here, guys. I mean, that's how you do it, is you meet people that have already done it and you secure the referral and you say, hey, Alex, how did you do this? Okay, you took down that property. Hey, Janelle, how did you do this? Okay, you talked to that agent. Who's the good agent? Who's the bad agent? And you can always do that with people. And it seems like people would love to learn a little bit more about creative finance, BRRRRs, and out-of-state investing. So a little bit of combo of all of that. So we'll see if we can get somebody in here who's doing a little bit of all of that. I see somebody in the room already right now that I got my mind on, and maybe we'll see if we can get him in here, Alex.
Yeah, me too.
Cool, man. Well, guys, again, we appreciate you guys. If anybody else has anything else they want to chime in, we'll go ahead and close it off here for the week, and can't wait to see you guys next week. All right, take action. We'll see you guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Will.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys later.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir. We'll see you guys. All right.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Drive safe out there, George. Damian, thanks for joining us, brother. Ulysses, good seeing you, man. Andy,
Hey,
what's
Will,
up, brother?
Thank you guys
Collin,
for doing this.
Yeah, of course, brother. We'll chat soon, all right?
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks, Giuseppe. Kevin, what's up, brother?